There are two versions of you: the woman in your head at home and around the people you feel most comfortable with. But then also there's the woman you show at work, in public, perhaps in romance. The question is, how did both women become so different? After all, it's the same person. That's what we intend to discuss today, and hopefully begin to merge both together so you can live in congruence of who you are. How did we get here? Well, society didn't really help in this matter because constantly we're told what we are, how we're supposed to act, behave, and the things we're supposed to want, especially as ethnic women, Black women, or women of some form of culture. So before you know it, you have developed multiple personalities and don't even know how you got there. The sad thing is, you're meant for more. Especially if you watch my channel, chances are you're very intuitive and understand that you're living a lie. But the problem is, how do we break out of that mode, which is what we're going to talk about today. How do you begin to express yourself fully so as to not develop a myriad of things I'm going to talk about in a few seconds? If you're an ambitious woman trying to reconnect with a version of yourself you've abandoned in order to survive, I send one practical insights every week on healing wounds, building confidence, and becoming the woman you are always meant to be. You can join below. Let's talk about the manifestations of these personalities in different settings. At home is the saddest because your home is supposed to be your sanctuary, because so many of us have been brainwashed into thinking that if you're smart, successful, and ambitious, you have to be a certain way for a man to love you. You have to downplay your intelligence. You have to be sexy, but not too sexy. You have to be this and that. And before you know it, you are just camouflaging even at home. And let's talk about work. This silent Cold War that goes on with being a woman, but especially being a Black woman at work. You have to be confident, but not too confident. Be presentable, but not too sexy. Contribute to the group, but not too much. So we're constantly second guessing ourselves. That can get exhausting. And we're going to talk about what happens when you do too much of that. And let's talk about friendships and the public persona, because that also happens. We women, and do not lynch me, we have a silent competition going on. And I think that's a healthy thing. But the problem is, unlike men who outwardly express their prowess and their desire to compete, we don't show that because society has said that it's not ladylike for the fairer sex to show envy and competitions. We're silently undermining being envious of each other and doing all these little things and never really speaking outwardly. See, I grew up with brothers, so I'm very open with saying what I want. Well, I was like that back home in Nigeria, and then I came to America and got indoctrinated into being a certain way. And now I got therapy, so now I just say what I want. But it's important to admit that you want to do better than your friend. It's important to admit that you want to be the head bitch in the town. That's okay. It doesn't make you anything less. What I think the problem is when we pretend it doesn't exist and become these people that malign each other. For instance, if my friend's doing better, that would inspire me to want to do better. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, we can't talk about these things. So we have these little fights and these gossiping behind each other's back, and this not conversing when someone hurts us because we're trying to be a certain way. See, all these things are going on. You're a certain way at home, you're a certain way at work. You can't be even real with your girlfriends. And then suddenly you develop fibromyalgia or hypothyroidism or any other form of autoimmune disease, which, by the way, is suffered by, well, most diagnosis is 85% of us women. And you know what the root cause of most autoimmune diseases are? It's idiopathic. It's essentially when your body fights you. And why do you think your body is fighting you? It's because you are not living in congruence. But men are not like that. Men say what they want. That's why they rarely get diagnosed with autoimmune disease. Gandhi said, what you think, do, and say are in alignment. That is bliss. That is happiness. How can you stop putting yourself in these little boxes and playing different roles so that you can actually flourish, so you can actually be happy, so you can actually express who you are and maybe get the things you want in life without having to hide yourself? Well, that's very easy. Number one, you have to decide that you want to change. I'm not going to do it for you. No one else is going to do it for you. late 2022, I lost a lot of people in my life. Prior to that, I was really in the system of pretense. But then I thought I could lose my life just like that. All these people that I'm afraid of and live to please will move on with their lives. And that changed quickly. I started to put my foot down. I cut some friends and family members off. I started to be more assertive at work, which I know can be intimidating because that's your source of livelihood. But you'd be surprised when you eloquently state the facts. Not get emotional, but state the facts, how people come to respect you at work, which we can discuss that later. After you've made the decision to change, you're going to need external help. This can come in form of a coach or therapist, because when you're in your head, it's difficult to really unravel things. And maybe you're good at solving the puzzles for others, but that is why therapists have therapists. That is why surgeons have surgeons, because you can't solve a problem with the same mind you used to create it. Whether it's leveraging cognitive behavioral therapy or other forms of therapeutic tools to help you understand the root cause and how to change, this is where therapists come together. For me, having a coach when I started was very important because it allowed me to understand what my weak points are, to understand what it is that I'm trying to work and how we can actually breach that gap. Which, by the way, if you're looking for deeper support, I work with a limited number of women one-on-one. You can book below. The third thing you're going to do after you made the decision is to practice being that woman. Do you want to be assertive? You have to learn and put yourself in positions to be assertive. Do you want to be feminine? Especially, I know this is a tough one for Black women because we're often portrayed as Jezebels or mammies. So it's like we're superly sexual or we're just asexual. But this is something I've worked through and I've found ways to express my sensuality. If it's not being a people pleaser, you have to learn to speak up and express these things. And what you have to understand is that there are going to be trials and tribulations where you're going to fail and when you're not going to do well. But the beautiful thing is that as you do them, you get comfortable. That's exposure therapy. And also you get feedback. Over time, it gets easier and easier. And while you're doing all these things, you are teaching people around you that this is a new person. And if you're going to interact with me, this is what you're going to get. Trust me, there are going to be pushbacks. You're going to lose a lot of people. But what's the alternative? Live in a shadow of yourself, continue to take those medications. Listen, there's nothing wrong with you. Yes, there could be trauma, but for the most part, the things that plague us are in our heads. And because we are not living out the fullness of who we are, so quit making yourself small. They're not going to like you either way, small or big, so you might as well be big. And as you're doing these exercises, you learn two things. I am stronger than I thought, meaning that you have the will to change your life. And it is possible to express yourself fully without the world ending. Yeah, you can be yourself. They'll survive. Finally, in this journey of being yourself, you have to develop patience with yourself. Rome was not built in a day. And so would your life, and changes be done in one day. It's a sequential up and down process. You have to be patient with yourself. You have to understand that it took decades probably to break down your psyche, to indoctrinate into being this woman you are today. And it's going to take time. The beauty is, at least for me, ever since I started this journey of stopping to hide parts of myself in order to survive, is that you're doing these different, grounding exercises. You're being more confident, you're being more sensual, you're putting your foot down, you're doing this and that, you're traveling and you're doing these things, and you think, oh, none of this are working, until you wake up one day and you realize that I'm a different woman. And it could come in the version of being calmer, less anxious when you go out or in certain situations, noticing that you're okay speaking your mind. I remember in the presence of arguments, I would start to stammer because I was afraid of offending people. But now I have no qualms doing that. There was a time where I thought the only way I could thrive in a corporate world is just to make myself smaller, and I agree in everything. But now I express my mind eloquently with facts, which we can discuss personally, when I see things differently. And guess what? I get respected more. So you can't be too quick to say that it's not working. It's an eternal journey. You have to be really patient with yourself. But You wake up one day and you see that things are different, and you see that it's all worth it, and you also notice you start to thrive in every way possible. I know the minute I put my foot down and said I was going to change, everything changed around my life. Finances, my career, my friendships, my relationships, everything changed for the better. It will get bad sometimes though, because people are going to push back and say, why don't you go back to being the fool that lets us take advantage of you? Don't do it. If this video resonated with you, I have created the Strong Woman Recovery Guide, because you know you're all strong women. We still want you to be feminine. It's a short exercise that is designed to help ambitious women like yourself reconnect with parts of you you've abandoned in order to survive. You can download it below. The integration. The goal isn't to have a private personality and then a public personality, or to get rid of both. The goal is to merge them each time, or expressing from the core of your being, if that makes sense. It's about knowing that there is room in this world for you to be yourself. And when I say being yourself, I mean expressing from your principles. Obviously, the way you interact at work is different from the way you interact with your partner, but your guiding principles don't have to change. So if you're someone who values authenticity, you don't have to take rubbish and fakery at work. You can elegantly call it out, backing it with proof. If you're someone who appreciates speaking your mind and taking charge of, things in life, you don't have to downplay yourself in front of a partner so that his ego doesn't get hurt. So you understand what I mean? You can frame it in a collaborative way, but you don't have to negate sharing your mind. And that is what I teach women. It's about merging your anima and your animus, your yin and your yang, your masculine and your feminine, and just working it together. So each part is good. The stern part of you, the confident part of you, the warrior part of you, the vulnerable part of you, the nurturing part of you, they're all beautiful. But it's about knowing when and where and expressing them from an authentic way versus performative way. I'm Dr. Princess PharmD, and I will see you guys next time. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself, but yeah, that's my name.